Anybody want the card? Get here for $1. Sorry.
We are recording.
If anybody wants to get cards, they're on the page.
I'm gonna pause then.
Let's all stand and say the Rotary motto. We can get some cards out.
Service above self.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Bow our heads for a moment. Ask the Lord that you bless this food to our use and us to thy service. Amen. And Alan has a song today, I'm sure.
I do have one.
Wow, surprise to me.
Page 5. America the Beautiful.
Oh, that's a good one, okay.
That's a good one.
My favorite.
Page
5.
The tune was composed in 1882. Samuel Ward, who was the organist and choir director at Grace Church in Newark. But it wasn't until 1925 when A View of Pike's Peak by Catherine Lee Bates of that Colorado Mountain inspired her poem, America, which then, setting to the tune that was already there, became the song America the Beautiful. Okay. Are we ready? I like the song. The first verse speaks of the current situation, the physical creation of God, and then goes on to speak of the future in the second verse. Okay.
Oh, beautiful for space the sky, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and proud like good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
And looking ahead,
Oh, beautiful for victory that sees beyond the years. Thine answers sing, undimmed by human fear. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crowned thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
Whoa.
Yeah, we had to learn that stuff.
For you.
I think we're back on Zoom, is that right?
You are on Zoom,
All right.
As we
but nobody else is.
If I'm a little nervous today, it's because I've never been on television. I think technically this is probably posted on YouTube later. We'll have to brief announcements first. Don't forget to get some cards, and as long as you're up, I did get something in the mail for you. Oh, thank you. It's a Paul Harris pin +1.
Whoa.
I don't miss it.
Way to go.
Thank you.
Hey, Ken, you wanna adopt me?
And Karen has a quick announcement.
Well, everybody knows that our pool is canceled. Schedule. I'm suggesting that we schedule on the 16th, it's the day of the town clean. And, if anybody has any input on that. Is it, anybody?
Good date.
Now that sounds good.
All right, so but so everybody who signed up, I hope that you can also come. And, I'll just submit to VDOT the same numbers. You know, we have like 15 people as well. Okay, so the 16th Saturday, the same day as the town.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock at the court.
All right, thanks. Bill, did you want to make it?
All right, it's getting to be that time of year, so, April the 2nd. April the 2nd. Oldest date for the District 7600 Giving Tuesday. Right? So, what does that mean? Contributions must be made online to the annual fund share, okay? Contributions must be made online on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024 at myrotary.org. So if you haven't signed up for myrotary.org, don't wait until the day before. You need to go on there now and sign up. Contributions of $100 to $500 will be matched with recognition points. Donor must have myrotary.org account set up in advance of April 2nd by a few days. Paul Harris Fellows +8 are ineligible for matching points. They know who they are. All right, so we haven't discussed this at the club level yet, the board, but it will be brought up next week about what the club can also chip in, right? So it's a good deal, So we've had people in the past, not gonna mention anybody here, but put in $500, hadn't contributed anything to the foundation, put in $500 and they were far because the district matched 500 to there for 500. All right, that's all I have. Morning time.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll remind you, a week before. So. Any other announcements?
$20 in the coffee hearts, $20. You want to show your cards?
We had high cards today. Anyone have an extra fund?
Now, wait, how's this work this time? Same as last time, so we're doing for high card. I did not pick very well.
I've got it, there you, Joe's got it.
We got it. Jack of hearts, high.
Hey, Joan has an ace.
Sorry, ladies. Nobody got the ace.
All right, Joe.
None.
That was last week too, wasn't it, Joe?
I'm sitting next to the card. Sorry, Joan.
King of diamonds.
All right, anybody have any other announcements?
I do.
Joe?
The 100th anniversary committee will be meeting after this meeting right here.
And we are having a board meeting next Tuesday at 11 o'clock, so everyone's welcome to come to that if you like. Anyone having a happy dollars or other dollars would like to donate to the club today?
What do you mean, other dollars?
Well, there might be unhappy dollars.
We had unhappy dollars left.
Anyone? Chuck?
I'll throw in 5. At my doctor's appointment last week, and he said, see you in a year. Take care of yourself. So, got 3 more sessions to go in physical therapy. I'm done with that, and spring is coming. I'm ready to get on the bike. All right.
Hey.
I'll give $5 Bill said Jackie's having surgery on Friday.
Friday, yes.
She'll be able to get back.
The real happy dollars will be next week.
Anyone else? All right, we have a program today. It's Sue and Marilyn from Waste Watchers. I assume they're here to tell us how to lose weight.
Oh. Ha 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 ha.
This would be the place to do that.
All right, sign up here and you're welcome to tell us about your organization.
got handouts.
Marilyn,
Is that better?
a little more. There you go.
Okay, waste as in solid waste. So we are trying to support Northampton and Akron counties in mostly reducing litter, increasing recycling, using our waste stream wisely. Okay, so one thing we do every year, and in fact, it's this Thursday and Friday, is we drive around for 2 whole days in a car and look at the litter along the road, and we use standardized nationally, internationally accepted methods to estimate how much we get, and then we compare it year to year. Are we doing anything about it? And I do have some handouts, but frankly, we've come down where 0 is pristine, 4 is get out the shovels. And when we started back in 2014, we needed shovels. Our last estimate, which is a year ago, Northampton is well below the national average.
All right.
So congratulations. I can getting close.
So much.
We dropped in Akron for 3 years in a row. I don't know that it will continue, but we'll tell you next week. So, hopefully it's down. Okay, so we don't think that the best solution is to have people always picking up litter because a week later, guess what? It's there again. The idea is to teach people this isn't a good idea for 1,000 reasons. So we have an essay program in the schools, every school, public and private, all counties. And the teachers can do this program in their classes, and it augments what they're teaching in the classes. And we have a jury of judges that choose the winners in each age group. The winners then record their essays at WSR, or in the Northampton, it's a bit of a way up there, so you can record it on the phone. And then it's played back throughout the year, and you probably know if you listen to ESR, kids come on and say, this is why litter is so awful, or this is what my family does for recycling. And those are the winners of the essay contest, and we get, last year was over 500 submissions. So it varies how many you get. We do some cleanups, clean the regular, clean the road. We had an open house because we get all these finger pointing, beat up, and the county, and it's his fault, it's her fault, it's not my fault. So if we put them together at the same table, maybe we can have a meeting of the minds. So that's what the open house is for, and hopefully we'll be continuing that into the future. Okay, our operation, our big roads, which you may not know about. Let's say that my neighborhood is badly littered, my neighbors all agree, we get together, we wanna go clean up, but we don't have all the equipment. Waste Watchers has the equipment, that's what we do, we go get the beat up from that, we have a storage unit where we have warning signs, slow down, people picking up the road. We have the vests with reflective lights, gloves, grabbers, you know, to grab, so you know. And then long handled nets for fishing junk out of the, I don't know about you guys, have noticed it's raining a little bit lately. So most of our dishes are full. And then bags to put in and safety advice. You know, some of it's pretty basic. Don't go dancing in the middle of the road. So, and then another idea that we've come up with is these. And I've got too many of them here, so everybody can have one. If you want, it goes on your car. It's magnetic, so it won't destroy your paint. So hopefully it'll trigger in people's minds as they drive that this is not a good idea to litter. What some of the kids have been saying in some of these essay contests is people want to clean out the car, but they don't want to do it in their own yard, so they just toss it as they're driving. As they're driving, if the car ahead of them has one of these yellow stickers, maybe they'll stop and think, maybe I shouldn't toss it out. So that's been our main thrust, is to try to control the problems by teaching. Hopefully it's getting through. And then the other half is the recycling, which has been going through some hard times internationally, not just national. But Sue has it all under control, so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is Sue Nest.
So, I have handouts too, if you wanna take them around. Those handouts are already out of date, but that's how quickly recycling evolves. That's from September, and we're already getting ready to produce the next version, and I'll just tell you that the changes, major changes from that is that glass recycling is now done in both counties. And we now take, they now take number 5 as well as number 1 and number 2 plastic, because we recently changed our recycling vendor from across the bay to up in Salisbury. So just to give you a little bit of a background, so Waste Watchers, as Marilyn said, is has a dual focus of, one, reducing the litter on the roads and also recycling, mostly to just reduce the waste here on the shore. Waste Watchers was actually founded about 20 years ago as an offshoot of Citizens for Veterans to the Shore. I see somebody's got the right shirt on today. And I'm a board member of that organization as well. You know, the main focus is to try to reduce the amount of litter and also to try to reduce the amount of waste that is going into our landfills. So, nationally, only about 1/3 of all material is recycled, and only 90% of all plastic ever produced is recycled. There's 3 reasons to recycle. The first is to reduce the use of virgin materials. So if you're talking about paper, you know, you don't want to be cutting down trees to make paper. If you're talking about glass, you don't want to be digging up sand to make glass. And if you're talking about plastic, you're talking about using fossil fuels, both in the materials for it and in the manufacture for it. The second reason is, as we said, to keep it out of the environment, not only the litter on our roads, but if you look at something like plastics, what we've discovered or learned over the years is that plastic is not the inert material we once thought it was. It leaches into the environment. Microplastics, you know, whether we're talking about our plastic cups or our water bottles. So we found microplastics in our water, in our soil, in our air, in us, the food we eat. They found microplastics at the top of Mount Fuji in Japan. So it's everywhere. And, you know, I think it was Pogo who said we've met the enemy and he is us. We're the ones who caused the problem, and now we're trying to fix it. The third, as I mentioned, third reason is to keep waste out of the landfill. Northampton has already closed their landfill. Acmac has several decades left on theirs, but it's a finite time frame, and the longer we can delay that by keeping as much material out of the landfill, the longer we can keep that open. Certain items like aluminum, glass, paper are very easily recycled. Plastic is not. Plastic is actually a bunch of different chemicals, and in order to recycle, those all have to be broken out into their separate components, shipped off to whoever uses them, and then reassembled again. So it's a very complicated process involving a lot of energy, a lot of chemicals. So the best thing is to not use plastic as much as possible. I brought my own metal cup today for my iced tea, so I didn't have to take a plastic cup. I try to take that everywhere I can, just to try to, again, reduce the single-use plastic, because it gets used once and then it gets thrown in the trash, and hopefully it gets thrown in the trash and somebody doesn't put it in their car and then throw it out the window. So, so there's things that we can do to try to reduce the use, and also, again, to try to recycle as much as possible. Unfortunately, they've made recycling much more complicated than it probably needs to be, and all of the burden is on us to keep track of all. So that's why we've got a 4-page primer on recycling. I counted it at home. I have 6 different bags at home for keeping my different categories of recycling. I have a bag for my paper, bag for the plastic and metal cans. I have a separate bag for glass, because glass has to be kept separate in both counties. I have a bag for plastic bags, because both Food Line, Walmart, and Accomack County Convenience Centers, we can take our shopping bags and the plastic film that goes around your toilet paper and so forth. That gets baled by Food Line and goes up the road to Trex, and they make benches out of it. So it's getting used, it's not going in our, landfill. I have a bag for ink cartridges, because Staples will take those, so will Best Buy. I have a bag for chip bags, because there's a program that Subaru participates in that will recycle those, so when I.
Well, what's that last one?
Chip bag, like, potato chips.
Oh,
And snack bags. So there's a company called TerraCycle that recycles those. So, and then there's like recycled clothing and shoes that you can drop off at the Special Olympics boxes, and bubble wrap for Eastern Shore printers, and hazardous waste collection with batteries and other chemicals, electronic recycling. So there's a lot of different ways we can keep things out of the landfill. Some of it is more important, like the hazardous waste and electronic recycling. That's really important to keep out of the landfill, because those can be some really dangerous chemicals, and they can leach out to, like the Accomack landfill is right next to a creek that flows right out into Asti Bay. So we want to keep, those things, and we have programs for those here on the bay, on the shore. We have electronic recycling up in Parsley, we have hazardous waste collection in Pager. So we have programs that will take those things, and so it's really important to try to keep as much of that out as possible. The main mantra has always been reduce, reuse, recycle. And we have to keep it, and there's also, we can think about repair and other things, but we have to keep in mind that recycle is the third in that. So the first is reduce. Don't get it in the first place if you don't really need it. Because I was close one, so I'm a terrible example, but we all have our pet problems. Reuse it as much as possible, and then at the end of it, if you have to throw it out, recycle it, don't put it in the trash. So that's the main way to think about it, is to try to keep as much out of the landfill and in the recycling bin as possible. But on the other hand, we have to make sure that it belongs in the recycling. A lot, as Marilyn referred to, recycling business has gone through a real upheaval, mostly because China doesn't take our recycling anymore. And a lot of it means that the material has to be very pure. So when it leaves the recycling sorting facility, which is currently up in Salisbury, Maryland, it has to be pure. It can't have contaminants in it or nobody's going to take it. So if we throw things in there that don't belong there, there's stories about people throwing bowling balls and things in the recycling bins. Somebody's got to physically take that out, or a machine has to do it, which means our costs go up, which means the cost of the county goes up, which means our taxes go up. So if we, if somebody pays for it, basically. So, it's just one way of thinking is just make sure that it's something that is going to be recycled and turned back into something, and try to use materials that we know are going to be recycled as much as we can. Thank you for your time. If any has any questions, right?
over here, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
You said, the other lady said that that Northampton County was below national average
Yes.
and Accomack County was above. Is that because of population, you think, or?
It's hard to know. Yeah. And that was last year's results, but yes. Yeah.
So you can see what we're talking about.
Okay.
That figure right there. And there's a little guesswork on why.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it, you guys have had better cooperation from your sheriff, to be honest. And that's one reason we're trying to have the open house, is to get the minds together, to do a better job. Some of it, you have fewer drive-through quickie food, quick food, junk food places.
Yeah.
Some of it, you're closer to the other side, across the bay, but there's a limit to how much people can bring in. Whereas here in Accomack, I'm sorry, they come in from Salisbury, so it's easier. It's all guesswork, to be honest, but.
Okay.
But some of it may be population.
Good.
Yes.
We were involved in New Jersey with glass recycling. It was the the world's best, best and largest, new machine that we had made in Germany. It was gonna separate everything by machine part, because
Yeah.
glass is the only material that it has a lifetime, can be recycled.
Infinite, yes, yeah,
Where the other things, they run out of recycle.
sure.
But what happened is COVID came, he was involved with the machinery, he was a person that had property, commercial property in New York, and he ended up going belly up.
But there
There
is,
was something that was really changing,
yeah.
at least, the Northeast, because he was gonna take everything from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. That never happened.
But there is now a glass recycling facility in Tawana, OI. And they are taking, there's one bin in Clarksley in Accomack County. And, Northampton County has bins in all of their convenience centers. And all of it is going across to OI, and they say it can be turned back into a glass bottle within 30 days. So, yeah, it's, what, glass is the best thing. The only problem with glass is the weight. And the only problem with glass is, the reason they have separate bins is you don't want to contaminate the other materials, because broken glass, if it gets into the paper or the plastic, or whatever, then it contaminates those other materials, which is why we have to keep it separate, yeah, and the weight becomes an issue with the transportation costs, but they, both counties have now made it work financially, so, which is important, yeah. Yes.
I certainly applaud everything you're doing, I really, it's a necessity for it, but I'll put in a word for a simpler lifestyle. When I was in India, we had a community supper at church. Everything was served on banana leaves, no utensils were used, everything like this. At the end of the meal, everybody went over to the fence, threw it over the edge, and all the pigs were waiting.
It's kind of hard to grow bananas around here.
Right, exactly, but we'd have to find a different substitute for that, they don't eat these babies, so, yeah, yeah. But you're right, I mean, and that is a lot, it's just rethinking, you know, what, do we really need this, you know, one of the things I've said to people is, you know, we go into in the food line, and we go to the produce section, and I'm gonna get 3 apples, and everybody automatically reaches for that plastic bag. You don't need to keep apples in a plastic bag. All you're doing is, you know, carrying them. Well, they go in my car, they go on the belt, they go in my canvas grocery bag, and they go home and they go in the refrigerator. I don't need a plastic bag. I got my 2 hands, you know, so it's simple things that you have to just sit back and say, wait a minute, do I really need that? You know, so, and it's amazing. I mean, you know, people say, oh, what kind of a difference can one little person make? Well, you know, that's how we made this world, is with all us little individual actions. So, you know, you just have to stop and think about everything you do and make sure it makes sense, yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's next? What is the shore need to improve these?
Well, there are a lot of people who say that single stream recycling would make things easier and would increase the participation rates. The problem is that from the economics on the other end, it makes it more expensive to separate everything out. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the answer is. I think, one of the things that, we could work on as a community, if we decided to, is since the Virginia General Assembly a couple of years ago passed a law saying that localities have the ability to ban single-use plastics, including plastic bags, we could work on that as a community. And Salisbury, Maryland did it. You can't get a grocery bag in Salisbury. So, you know, there are things we can do. We can, you know, we just decide what we want to do, but with Virginia, it's a dim little state, so you have to wait till the General Assembly says you can do it, but for that, they have said that you can do it. One of the things that they did a few years ago is, which most people might not be aware of, is putting in effect a balloon ban. You can't have mass releases of balloons in the state. It's been with, you know, if you have a wedding or something, well, all of those balloons float back down. It's plastic, and it was getting into birds and turtles. We find them on beach cleanups all the time. Well, initially they reduced that to 40 or 50, and then they got away with it completely. So you can't have mass balloon releases in this state anymore. So there are things we can do incrementally, you know, baby steps, but every little bit helps, you know, it all makes a difference. It's all about just reducing our waste and making sure we're doing it responsibly.
So what I'm hearing is the system of collecting these convenience centers and as it is concerned, is adequate to ensure it's needed.
I think so, yeah, as far as I'm aware of, yeah, so the glass recycling is the latest thing, and the plan is for Accomack County, it started with Park Street, and they're going to, little by little, add, because they got the 7 convenience centers. So they'll start maybe with one in the north, then one in the south, and then eventually they'll have them all at the convenience centers. It's just they have to buy the bins and, you know, they just have to make sure they've got the usage to make it work, but I'm pretty sure they do. This glass is really popular, everybody really wants that. Yeah.
I can remember as a kid taking my wagon around the neighborhood and collecting bottles, 2 cents per bottle.
Yeah,
Has there ever been any thought of, reimbursing a person who walks in with a whole great big, 25-pound bag full of plastic bags? Giving them some type of compensation for that? I mean, then that, I can tell you, it'll make kids want to earn a few dollars and turn this stuff in.
the local salvage yards will pay for aluminum cans. We can't, so far, we haven't been able to get a bottle bill passed in this state. There's too much resistance to that. And again, it's a Dillon state, so it would have to get at the state level first. But yeah, one of the things that Waste Watchers is working on is, and we're still ironing out the details, is a program where, you know, we will be paying people in some way for collecting bags of trash along the roadside. Yeah, so, yeah, there's a number of different ways of looking at it, but yeah, if you give people a little bit of money,
Yeah, I
that sometimes
mean,
sweetens the pot, yeah.
We got 2 cents per bottle back then,
Oh, yeah.
what they're moving towards a quarter. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
could get a 12-pack of soda bottles and you
Oh, and they've
they've
done a lot of studies that the states that do have bottle bills have much higher rates of recycling and much lower rates of roadside trash because of that. But again, we've got to get past the General Assembly before we make that happen. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I just wanted to comment that in last year or the year before, one of the things you can do with old cell phones is to recycle them by donating them to the Eastern Shore Coalition Against Domestic Violence. If you donate the cell phone and the charger, they can give them to their clients to use for 911 calls. And I think that ought to be in this brochure.
Absolutely, I will definitely add that in. I wasn't aware they were doing that, so I will definitely.
Double check with them, but I collected a whole bunch of volunteers here a year and a half or so ago.
Yeah.
And brought them up there,
Yeah,
and they said that they use them for that.
yeah, no, that's important. I know other places that have been doing that, but yeah, I will definitely add that.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
We did have the friendly reason. Guaranteed up to 1,000 uses.
There you go.
Guaranteed.
Drop.
Thank you.
That's all about the window of your car. Does anyone else have anything? All right, let's all stand and say the pledge.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And will we have fun?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.